Hi, I'm Angelica Prather. I have some exciting news. I'm on TV. Yes, you heard me right. I'm on television. The Chair's Blueprint is coming to you in the midst of your home, sitting on the couch with a blanket, in the midst of your salon suite, in the midst of your break room, or it can be your Monday's educational class for your employees in the salon. So what does that mean? Let me just tell you what that means, okay? You can download Dream World Media Group on your Roku television or on your Roku device. It's free. All you have to do is download, open, and connect with me live. And if you miss it, don't worry, it's on demand. You can watch it over and over and over again. So let's connect, share with your family and friends, hair besties, and let's go. Bringing some gems, dropping the best of the best in the industry, giving you all that I have so that you can win in your business. Let's go. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chair's Blueprint. I am your host, Angelica Prather, and my ultimate goal is to empower and equip Black beauty professionals and entrepreneurs to carve out your unique blueprint, your path of success, and take a seat on your throne. Why are we in business? To leave a legacy. Whether you like it or not, you're going to leave a legacy. So if you're in business or you're doing anything that inspires other people, or if you're a beauty professional servicing other people, you will leave a legacy. So for those who do not know me, I am an income strategist, business coach, and a speaker. But before I was any of those things, I was a hairstylist for 17 years and a salon owner for 8 years. And I decided to step up and show up for my community because I wanted to help them thrive and win. And so how do I do that? I do that through my signature program, Charge Your Worth Academy, which is a 6-month group coaching program. And we just deep dive into our finances. But before we go into all of those different things, I help you how to articulate your value, how to make a profit in your business. You do not have to be on the struggle bus at all. Like, nobody has time for this, especially after the pandemic, right? So I wanted to actually create a program that walks you through a series of how to articulate your value, strategically charge for your services so that you can make a profit in your business. And I want you to have cash flow. Without cash flow, your business won't survive. So that is what I do. So of course, in this, anyone who's joining in, I believe in community. One of my key ingredients to success is having community. You cannot do business alone. If you think you are, sorry, it's not gonna work, right? So one of the things that I believe is like with being in community, you want to lock arms with other people, right? And so I know I have some people in the audience. I love people joining in. This is an interactive show. So if you have questions, put it in the chats because we have a guest on today. And before we get all to that, got to give you all that details. But I'm just going to say hello to see who's in the audience because, of course, that's what you came here for. Your time is valuable and I honor your time and that you're here. I want to say hello. So let's see who's in the chat. All right, so we got Dream World Media Group. Thank you for joining today. We have Michelle Andrews. Thank you for joining us today. We have someone so dear to me, Belinda Bassan, who's all the way from Cali. It's my Cali fam up in there. So we're very excited. Michelle says she loves the music. It's a whole mood. Yes, we were vibing over here, okay? We like to get it in. We got to have fun. Business doesn't have to be boring. Have fun with your music, right? So I'm so excited you guys are all here. I have JP in the crowd. I know I just seen your name. Yes. Hey, JP. Thanks for joining us today. And of course, we have our wonderful guest, Mr. Steve Worthy, up in the building, okay? We are very excited. And I'm excited because I just gotta tell you, we are New Yorkers. So you're gonna hear a whole New York vibe come out, okay? You know, when we get together, right, New Yorkers, it brings something out. We are proud. We don't even live in New York, but we're very proud of being a New Yorker. So you're gonna have some fun. You're gonna hear some things, maybe some little slur come out, but that's okay, right? Just stay tuned because we got you, okay? So we're so excited to have him here. And of course, one of the main reasons why I even started the Chairs Blueprint is because as a business owner, I don't ever want to think I know it all, right? So as I said, you have community. You're going to lock arms with other people, meet other people that have a gift, have a talent, but it goes beyond that. They have expertise in a certain field. So you partner with other people who are going to help your community, whoever you are talking to, right? So this is just a side plug that has nothing to do with the title today, but if you are in business, you have to be in community because you are not going to get to the next level. And you don't have to be knowing it all. It's not about how much you know. Know what you know, stand in your lane, but partner with other people, right? So that is like key. And today we're going to be talking about leading your salon. So even if you're not a beauty professional, let me just say this, just get it out there. If you're not a beauty professional or you're an entrepreneur or aspiring, if you're in ministry or any of those things like that, this live is for you today because we're going to be talking about something leadership. And Steve Worthy, I love his last name because I'm all about charging your worth and worthy. You know, those two just go hand in hand. So I love it. He just doesn't know how much I love it. When I seen his last name, I'm like, yes, that's my dude, right? Didn't even know he was from New York. But when you are leading something or in leadership, right, we have to lead ourselves. That's where you start, right? So if you're going to lead yourself and you have a dream or a vision and you aspire to do something greater and better, it starts with you, right? So if you can't lead yourself, how could you lead a pack? How could you eventually open the business and get it thriving, right? So we want to give you actionable steps today to help you get from leading yourself, leading your vision, whether that's a salon, whether that's your business, whatever it is, leading yourself, right? Because eventually, like I said, community, right? So we hire people or we want to attract people to our business and it could be attracting clients. I always say you want to lead your clients, right? Your clients are coming to you for your leadership and your expertise. But if you can't lead yourself, 9 times out of 10, boo-boo, that business is not going to strive, okay? And I say strive, not strive. You know, I want you to strive for excellence. And we want to do things in excellence. And like I said earlier, I'm about stepping up for my community, the Black African-American community. We have to do things in excellence. No longer could we just get by. We don't have to get by. That's why we have platforms like this. So I'm going to take a quick ad break. And then we're going to get into bringing Steve up and it's going to be some goodness. So stay tuned because we're going to get right back to it. Hi, I'm Angelica Prather. I've been a hairstylist for 17 years, so I know exactly what it takes to run a business. But I wanted to step up and show up and support my own community so they can start charging their worth. No longer are we on the struggle bus. Nobody has time for that. So I've created Charge Your Worth Academy. You have me teaching you one-on-one in a group coaching setting, implementing the systems and strategies, the recipe to really win financially. nobody's on a broke wheel. But if you're ready to charge your worth and you're tired of figuring it out all by yourself, this is how you can join. Go to my website, which is angelicaprather.com. And if you happen to be here right now, there is a button down below. Click that button and be ready to join. And so just a little bit of tip. You also get a complimentary 100% free income strategy call. And so what that is you're just talking to me one-on-one, getting to know where you are, where you desire to go, and what's missing from your business. And if you're a perfect fit, you'll join the program. I'll see you soon. Well, welcome back I have Steve on the show. Let's just get into it. Steve, just tell us who you are. What's going on?
Hey, I wanted to do this first. I wanted everybody I had to represent for a second. I had to represent for a second, just there we go. New York in the house. No.
I told you we're going to have some fun on the show. It's not going to be stiff, okay?
That's it. How are you doing? I'm excited to be here. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to have you on the Chairs Blueprint. But one of the things, we didn't really know each other, right?
No.
We had no clue. We actually spoke at a conference together, and I heard him speak, he heard me speak, and we just had that mutual oh, okay, became some friends on social media platforms. And then I learned about what you did, right? Because of course, when you have an opportunity to hear other speakers, one of the things that you get to see them in their shining light, right? And so when he was speaking at this conference, I was like, who is this brother? Okay, you taking me to church now. And one of the things that stood out to me was you were just talking in authority. You really were talking in authority, but you talked about leadership and in so many strategic ways how technology was helping us elevate. It was about creators, right? Content creators. And so when I heard you speak, I was very intrigued by, number one, what you do. So of course, we're New Yorkers. I want to see what you're doing, right?
There you go.
So I stalked the online streets, seeing what he was about, right? And we became friends, colleagues, I would say, in a way of online. We're both in the content creating space. Now, I might not be in his lane, but we share common things. Obviously, you heard us talk about New Yorkers, and we're going to be bragging all the entire show. So if y'all feel some type of way about being in New York, sorry. Sorry, but not sorry. So one of the things that stood out to me that was so key was you are a leader. And you do that unapologetically. And you say that, number one, you are an African American and you've led so many organizations. And so tell them what it is that you do, because I don't want to botch your titles. Tell them what you do.
Oh, wow. So thank you. Well, first, once again, thank you again for being here. I'm really excited. I have been a fan, since you started, doing this program, and then connecting with you through JP. And then also hearing you at the conference as well too. I was like, okay, all right. I think it was, one of the first two words that came out of your mouth, I heard the accent. I was like, oh, it's just gonna be good anyway. So I said, I know it's gonna be good because we always got to bring it, man. But no, so I'm Steve Worthy. I'm CEO of Worthy Retail U. Our focus, we're an executive coaching firm for retail leaders, and we help them understand a little bit more on how to communicate, understand their culture so that they can advance their career. And we also have a podcast that's called Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy, where we focus in exactly on that, retail leaders, and helping them understand their journey a lot more so that they can kind of get the position that they want. And then we've also moved into another platform. We do podcasting. So Podcasters Live, we actually help podcasters understand a little bit more how to go live so that they can grow their audience and build their brand as well. But my passion, everything that I do and I talk about and I'm about is around leadership, because you wouldn't know it probably in my younger years. I shied away from it for so long. I never wanted to take on that mantle, and I was always thrust into various positions. And we could talk a little bit about that as well. But I can talk about leadership all day long.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on, Buzz, because I help beauty professionals, and I help, and now I end up it's grown even some from there. Coaches and consultants are reaching out to me and saying, because they know what I do, whether they're struggling from pricing or just structuring their business, right? But I believe that leaders get taught by other leaders,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And what makes you
Hmm.
a great leader is that you are willing to listen, engage, and figure out what is my problem in my business. So
Hmm.
today we're going to be covering a lot about salon leadership, right? So we're going to be
Yeah.
talking to beauty professionals, but like I said, stay tuned because we got some stuff coming, okay?
Oh. Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the things about being in a salon, right? So many people just aspire to have it, or they have a salon, right? Or they're a one-person show, and they just don't have the organization around what it takes to be a good leader, right?
Yeah.
Because they might be solo today, but their goal in 5 years is to be to have other employees, or whether they're booth rental or they are, 1099ers, right? So they're
Correct. Right.
freelancers or they're online, because now a lot of people are pivoting online and still having a team, right? So
Hmm.
how do I
Hmm.
motivate this team or create this culture around it, right? That's the key of, like, you want to create a culture across the board. But I think people don't have the clarity of what it takes, like understanding who they are as a leader. So I
Yeah.
know there's
Yeah.
certain ways of being a leader, or certain, what I should say is their style of leadership. How do they
Correct.
identify their style first as a leader?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I know you and I talked a little bit about this offline right before we came on, and I think it'll be constructive for your audience is to let them know that I did have a spell, if you will, in cosmetology, which was interesting. I know it doesn't look like it because of my hair, and my face is not all done up. But there was a period of time in my life where I was a regional director for post-secondary education, and some of those schools that I had oversight for were cosmetology schools, Empire Beauty School, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And going into those schools, one of the things that I really realized was that I had to help the students in the schools understand a little bit more about business and leadership, and how does that translate to once they're out of this school and they move into the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're not just doing things out at, in their garage or in their basement, but how they're actually going to kind of present themselves to the world. And once we started doing that, we saw our admissions increase and things like that. And so one of the things that we really would help them with, and I think is going to be instructive for everybody here, is going to be around the context of really understanding, like, who you are as a leader. I think you said it earlier. You said it several times, which I was just like shaking my head. I was like agreeing with you. Is like, how do you lead yourself first? Because you can't lead anybody else. You can't connect with anybody else if you don't know who you are as a person and what you stand for. And I say this all the time to my team, and also to the people that we coach. The more you know about yourself, the more you can say no, because you're not going to fall for every little thing that kind of comes across your table. You're going to be able to actually sit down and say, I don't know if that's actually going to be the best thing for my life. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that we help them understand is understanding a little bit more about your value system. And I know this isn't like the hardcore textbook stuff, like from a leadership standpoint, but I do. Here's the thing: you're only as good. You are only your goals and your dreams and your business, all of that stuff. They're only as good as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I focus in on you as a whole person, as from a coaching standpoint, and that's what we did with the students as well. They had to understand a little bit more about their self awareness. How do you deal with a client that is horrible, right? I've seen it happen. They're in the chair and they're trying to tell the stylist, how to cut their hair. They're telling the colorist, no, don't use that. No, you're using too much foil. What are you doing? Right? So how do you deal with clients like that? What's your level of self-awareness that you currently have about yourself to not snap, to not snap, but to be like, okay, I know this is Jill. Jill has some issues, and I'm not going to worry about all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
understanding your self-awareness, a little bit more about who you are and how you're going to approach certain situations, is one of the critical aspects that we kind of focus in on first, is your level of self-awareness.
Wow. And that's so critical, like you said, understanding who you are first, right? Because we all
Mm,
have this talent. We love doing whatever it is that we want to do. If you want to be a colorist, or you want to be a braider, or you want to, have you want to do it all, you have to understand who are you first and then how are you going to attract, right? And I know
Correct.
there's different leadership styles. We have authoritative, we
Mm.
have a structural, we have a participation, we have like a coach's
Yeah.
style, we have the, what do they call it? Liaison flair, right?
Yeah.
And that translates, let
Laissez
me
faire.
do. Yeah.
Laissez faire. Yeah.
That's so many different leadership styles. And those are like key terms, but let's break that down, right? You have to know who you are, right? I'm sometimes have been considered, I went through all of them because I had to
Correct.
grow, right? You have to
Hmm.
grow. So I thought authoritative, and sometimes you mimic what leader may you sometimes
Correct.
mimic, right? Because you're not
Correct.
self-aware. So you end
Correct.
up creating bad habits because you are following someone else's blueprint.
Yeah.
You're
And
all,
I think
go
agreed.
ahead.
And I think initially, right, as you start out, it's okay to mimic
Mm-hmm.
initially because at least you're doing something, right? At least you're trying to figure it out. I did that when I first started. My pastor Philip Davis, when I left New York and I lived in Charlotte, he gave me my first book, my first leadership book. I think I was 25 or 26 at the time, Developing a Leader Within You. Man, I mimicked him all day long. I mean, he had a son, RJ. But I mimicked his style, everything until I was able to find my own. But I was trying something, and so I think the levels, I mean, the styles of leadership are great, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about those too. But I think the one area that a lot of people need to understand a little bit more about is like the level of where you are
Mm,
as a leader, right?
yeah.
And the very first level that people get so stuck on is the position level. Is
Mm,
that I am a leader because of my position, and you are going to listen to what I say because of my position. As a stylist, as the owner of my business, you are going to listen to me because this is my level of leadership. And if you don't like it, don't let the good Lord hit you with it, where he split you, whatever how that sayings go.
yeah.
And you get focused, they get so focused in on the position, and is the furthest thing from the truth.
Mm,
Your style is just incumbent upon that level of leadership. But if you understand the five levels, which is position, I'm just making sure I get them right.
mm,
Position, permission, production, people development, and then what we call the pinnacle. That's like the statesmanship of leadership. If you don't understand those levels first, then you're going to be stuck. The
mm.
position is just the start. Yes, you got the position, great. Now what are you going to do with it? How do you build relationships after that? Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in that position level and nobody's going to want to work with you.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's go there. Let's
Yeah.
go to those different levels because I think that's
Yeah.
something that people might not even understand. Like that's an actionable step to follow when it
Yes.
comes to your
Oh.
leadership. So let's
Oh
go there.
man.
Go ahead, take us
Yeah.
to church.
Dude, yes, position is just that. It is like the ticket. It is the ticket to get in the door of leadership. You do have to have a position initially sometimes to lead. And I don't mean like, CEO or, executive director, right? And I mean almost a position in the context of, how are you going to approach something as well? I have been in so many opportunities and in positions where I wasn't the leader. You know why I wasn't the leader? Because someone else had more influence than I did.
Mm,
I may have had the position, but they had the influence. And so I had to go in there and gain the influence so that I can match up my influence with the position and the title that I currently have.
mm,
A lot of leaders step into these positions and they don't have any influence and they just want to lead.
mm,
Get it, completely understand it, but nobody's listening to you.
mm. Ooh,
Because you don't have any influence. You
mm,
have the position, but how do you gain the influence? And that comes with time, helping and understanding, sharing your knowledge, sharing your
mm,
wisdom with people, investing in other people, investing in yourself so that you can grow to the next level,
mm.
which is permission.
Yeah.
And permission is just all about relationships. How are you going to connect with people differently?
Mm,
As a leader, it is so important for you to learn how to connect. And I use this analogy all the time. You see a locomotive train. The locomotive train is the engine, and that is the leader. And then you have all the carts that are actually behind the locomotive train. You've seen it, stopped at a railroad crossing, and you see the locomotive going on. Those carts in and of themselves, they can't move by themselves. They
mm-hmm,
cannot. It takes a locomotive to actually pull them forward. But in order for the locomotive to do that, they have to back up and connect with each cart, and
mm-hmm,
then they move forward. It is the same thing with leadership. It is
Yeah.
the exact same thing with leadership. If you are not connected with people, you are a locomotive just going there by yourself, and you can be super destructive. But in order for you to get more people and go further, you have to go backwards and connect with people, and that's what the permission level is.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too that stuck out to me in the beauty professional world is that so they'll get
Oh,
people in their salons and then they have a high turnover rate, right? They're constantly in, they're constantly out, and they're like, well, people want to come see me. It's like you don't realize that you're not leading these people. You got them in the door, but now you don't know how to steward the relationship, steward the
yes,
culture in there, which is going
yes.
to get them to lead where you will be generating more income because we have to take care of the people that's in our establishment. You have to care about them just as much as you care about your own, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah.
times we miss that mark and it's because a lack of communication. It's my
Oh,
one thing, right? A lack of communication because they haven't even communicated with themselves of what type, we're going a little bit back, but we're going to go forward. But you have
yeah,
to know where you are when you're opening this establishment. Just
yeah,
not, it's pretty and the aesthetics is all great. And, all, I want clients to come to the door. You can't do everything. It goes back to
yeah.
community. You cannot do everything. So since you can't do everything, how are you going to create a culture that gets you to then steward good relationships so that you can have longevity in your
Mm,
business? So
mm,
that's key. So go
yeah.
ahead, go to the next level.
I'm gonna help a lot of people out real quick and let them know that the leadership and everything that we're talking about today is not about you. It is not. It's just if there's one thing that you can get out of anything that we're going to talk about today is understanding that leadership is not about you. Your content, right? You're a content creator now in this space. I am as well. We got JP in the audience. One of the things that we learn and we understand as we're creating content and doing these different things is that we realize that our content isn't for us. We may create it, but it is really to help move somebody else along and move someone forward within their journey. And it's the same thing when you're a salon owner. When you come in there, you may have a whole bunch of turnover, but that's not going to be beneficial. Of course, we know that for your business. So if you come into understanding that this salon is not about me, it's about the clients that come in the store. It's also about giving other, junior stylists that opportunity to kind of grow and cultivate and learn their business, right? The biggest piece advice I've ever received in leadership, and I thought it was going to be about metrics and money and all this other stuff. I really did. I really did. And he said, Steve, develop and export great talent. And
Mm.
I didn't think about that in that context. And this goes into permission level to this relationship as well. We'll move it to production here in a second. But when I realized that, when I started to understand that one, leadership wasn't about me, and then I started to take the time to develop, assess and identify great talent and then assess them and then develop them and move them on to other opportunities. Man, I wasn't creating little Steves. I was creating other leaders that they can actually kind of move forward and do other things. So as a salon owner, that is really part of your job too. You're not going to be able to keep everybody. Honestly, do you want to? Here's another thing. Do you want to keep everybody? Like I mean, I'm not saying the quick turnovers, but I'm just talking about like your clientele is going to grow. People are going to grow. You want to make sure that you have a good understanding that develop great talent, but you got to be selfless and understand that leadership is not about you. And then if we move to the third level, it's the production level. People follow you. They come to your salon, stylists, colorists, all these guys and gals, braiders, they all come to your salon because you are producing great work, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are producing, like you are hammering it out, man. People are coming to you. You got a process and a routine in place, man. They love coming in there. They love the culture, all these different things. And that's great. But then people get stuck at that level too, because they feel that the production and the revenue that they're generating means that they're an amazing leader. If you want to be there, that's awesome. That's great, because a lot of people are stuck at that level too,
Mm-hmm.
because they think production actually equals leadership as well.
Yeah, and you said something so key because I always say booked and busy does not mean
Mm,
success. It can
looking busy. Ooh,
yeah, it can easily look like broken, burnt out, right?
looking busy. I love that.
So booked and busy, or you could be broken, burnt out. And success for everybody looks completely different. And so I
100%.
tell the beauty professionals that I'm helping, listen, you got to get clear on what does that success level look like? Like you said, you don't want a lot of people. It's okay to have a turnover rate, right? But you want more leaders. You want to catapult. You
Yeah.
want to ignite a fire in someone else, right? So if you can't release, then you can't gain. If it's not about you, then you're not going to be
Yeah.
helping people to start in their career and then blossom, right? So it should
Yes.
always be able
Yes.
to, you should see the circle of life like the Lion King, right? It's like the next cub comes in and you're like, here, you're the king. That's how your mind has to be thinking when you're owning a salon. Never like, oh, you're leaving me. It's sad. It's like, if I can let you go and I can see you blossom into the greatest. One of my one of my mentors actually just recently passed away, and her salon has been thriving for over 30 years. I mean, and the impact. No, so now she's gone, but her salon is
Yeah.
still there. The
Yes.
machine is still running, and the impact is still there. And so many people are
Yes.
affected by this because of the imprint that she left. And she set me free, right? It was not a big
Yeah.
deal. She's like, you're going to do great. When I decided that it was time for me to go, she said, you're absolutely right. It's time for you to go. There's another gift and another talent that you need to execute. You have all that you need. Your cup is full. I've
Yeah.
emptied what I had. Your cup is
Yes.
full. Now it's time for you to go. And I mean,
Yes.
I've had transitions like that. And that's the mindset that you have to have when you're thinking about opening your establishment, whether it's you're by yourself or you're going to hire an assistant or you're going to hire a team. You have to realize that every season will come to an end, and it's okay that it comes to an end, right? But you got to be willing to think about, what is this benefiting if I hold on to this person, right?
Correct.
There's no
Correct.
benefit, right? You're holding someone else who has a gift and a talent burning inside them. So I always ask people, what are your dreams? What are your goals? Where do you see yourself, right? If you see yourself that you want to own a salon, I'm not in a threat by that. Let me give you the
No.
tools, right?
Come on, man.
Let me
Come
give you
on,
the
man.
tools. Let me give you the secret
Yeah.
sauce so that you could be
Yeah.
even better than me, right? That's
You're
the whole
helping the
point.
market. You're helping the market. A lot of people don't
Yes.
realize that, right? Oh my gosh, it's competition. If I create all these people, they go start their own business. You're creating it. You're enhancing the market when you create. And that's the other
Yes.
thing. I love competition because competition just makes you better. But here's the reason why more people don't go to this, develop and export talents, because they're lazy. It takes time. It takes time for me to develop Angelica to the point where she could be awesome, and then like, oh my gosh, now now I got to spend all my time, and now so and so's coming in. I got to spend. They don't want to take the time necessary, and then also understanding that I can't lead Angelica the way that I'm going to lead Tiffany when Tiffany comes in, because Tiffany has a completely different personality. That takes work as well, and that's the other part is that I know Angelica, I know her. We're that's my sister, and I can get her to do X, Y, and Z. Tiffany, not so much. Well, that's because you don't know Tiffany as well as you know Angelica. So now you actually have to take the time, but people are lazy and they don't want to do that. And so man, I used to hire little Steves all the time when I first started leading. Man, outgoing, like super fast, could think crazy, can come into a room and figure stuff out like quickly. Just hire tons and tons of little Steves. However, we weren't getting a lot of the day-to-day stuff done. The big vision, all of that stuff. We were there. But man, and I loved the little Steves until I got more into leadership and realized I can't do that. I need some people who don't think like me. I need some people who are a little bit more maybe analytical, a little bit more detail-oriented in certain things that can help me with the day-to-day stuff.
Hire your
then
weakness.
hire your weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Hire your weakness. And once you started to do that, once I, myself and whoever's out here in the audience, once you start to do that, you start to realize like you can expand and grow so much faster in your leadership in your business when you have people that are actually taking care of some of those other things. But it goes back to what we just talked about, self-awareness and knowing yourself as a leader, because you can't do anything else outside of that if you don't know yourself.
Yeah, you are so right. And one thing I want to harp on is when you said you hired a lot of people that were like you, right?
Yeah.
So many stylists end up realizing, first of all, they don't pick a niche, right? But the things that you don't want to do, or your barber, the things that you don't want to do, hire someone that's gifted in that area. That's what makes your salon a whole package. A salon
100%.
sits in a community. the community around you, if you're able to service a lot of people around you because you have hired in your weakness and the
Yeah.
things that you're not gifted in, you just have, that's the secret to your business, right? That's what makes your salon great, not competition. It's like, she's the go-to person for the colorist. She's the go-to person for the braider. She's the go-to person to actually shave men's face. Find your talent, find your gift, your niche, and hire your weakness. That's
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
And that's where you're
Yeah.
going to thrive more. And like he said, he just going to give it to you. He said, lazy. Some of us are lazy. You
Spend
know,
that time.
spend the
Spend that time with
time.
people, man. Spend that time. And, this goes into for the people. I mean, we've already been kind of talking
Yeah.
about a little
Go
bit,
ahead.
which is people development. But it is really spending that time with somebody to learn more about who they are and how they like to be led,
Mm,
right? And how they like to be communicated to. Because, you when I was doing the working in those cosmetology schools, and realizing that a lot of them were coming in here and they weren't coming from some of the best situations,
mm-hmm.
and so that the school was like a safe haven for them. But the other part of it was that the idea of having a career in cosmetology was something that their families, right, probably a lot of times didn't support them in wholeheartedly. And so they
Mm-hmm.
would come to school and have these conversations with our instructors and campus presidents, and they're talking, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Steve, why are they telling me all of this?" Well, you need to know this. You need to know these students. You need to know what's going on a little bit in their lives, so that way you can create a culture, so that way that will embrace them and help them and support them. It's the same thing when you go into business and spending time with your team to know them a little bit better. It's not so much that you try to get in a business, it's so that you can support them better and help them understand a little bit more about, hey, Steve, I'm not coming from the best circumstances. Well, I didn't either. Right, I didn't either. But hey, we're in this together now, and now and
Mm-hmm.
now you're making a name for yourself, and now you're moving forward. But that's what will endear people to you, is that time. Just like you were talking about this earlier. You were saying that you have people that you used to work with that come in and look at your live streams, or you probably haven't seen them in years, but your personality and who you were have they now they're endeared to you because of who Angelica is. And so now they want to check out what you're doing. Not
Mm-hmm.
because I want to check out what Angelica's doing. They're like, no, I want to check out what Angelica's doing because I want to support her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way when you try to develop and connect with people, spend time with them, learn a little bit more about who they are. Man, I'm telling you what, you will get so much more loyalty from people when you do that as well.
Yeah, because you actually show your heart. And I know this is going to be a little bit controversial, so I'm going to say it anyway
Go
in
ahead.
our industry, right? So a lot of times they're like, because we're women, we get so emotional, they bring their emotions there. Where do
Mm,
we draw the lines with creating a healthy boundary with
mm,
getting to know a person, but
yes.
not but them still being productive in
Yes.
their job? So where do we find that balance?
That's a great question, right? Because there is that underpinning that you have in not just in the beauty industry, but all across business, is that women are more emotional and all this and all of that. And how do we help them with that? I don't know if we necessarily help anybody with that, because men are just emotional as women are too. We just don't show it. We are, and we look at it differently. And so I'm going to approach it from a dude standpoint. I apologize, because that's all I know is I'm a dude.
That's fine.
Is that
You got a lot of
is
daughters
that
though, right?
I got a lot of daughters. I got a lot. I got all. Yeah, Lord, man. I used to have a lot of hair too, and it was
They don't
braided.
stress
No,
him
it wasn't
out.
braided.
They
It
stressing
wasn't
him
braided.
out.
No. But I think you have to be able to set your own boundaries first as well. What
Mhm.
it is it that you want to have out of this kind of relationship with this person? And when we say relationship, I don't mean it in that context, a professional relationship. But what are your personal boundaries and set of standards that
Mhm.
you are going to have first? See, this all goes back to you and what you want to set up and stand for personally. Because once you do that, you have those pillars of a value system. Now, you know what? I can give off. So my value system for me is personal development, understanding more about who you are so that I can move you forward, right?
Mm.
And there is also this measure of approachability that a lot of people don't even, I think is probably one of the most underappreciated skills that a leader could have is approachability. That ability to kind of physically open yourself up and also kind of mentally, psychologically open yourself up to people where they feel safe enough to be able to say something to you and be vulnerable and realize that when they're vulnerable with you, that you are not going to use that information to hurt them. That is a skill that happens and is learned over time. It is, as a new leader, you take that information and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. You're like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? But over time, you start to be able to take that information in and realize information isn't for me. They're sharing this because they want me to understand a little bit more about who they are and ask another question. So mastering your level of approachability and your value system will actually, honestly, it will help you be able to cut off that level where you start to feel that conversation or that relationship or even that discussion to getting too far out of hand. Now, when you have some self-awareness, you can say, hold it for a second and be honest. Hey, I don't like the direction of this conversation right now. I think this I think this conversation is going in the wrong direction. Okay, let's kind of recap. Let's kind of go back a little bit. Having the ability to be able to do that puts yourself into a powerful position as well. Instead of you just going for it and just keep going, hold it for a second. I don't think I like the direction of this conversation, right? Because we started out talking about your hours and now we're talking about, you think I don't like you, right? Oh, here's the other thing. Oh man, get this. This just came to me, but it's always in my mind. When you are listening to people, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is not the true issue. Get that. When they're talking to you and they're upset about something, right? They may be emotional about something. A lot of times we will take the knee-jerk reaction and the first thing that comes out of their mouth, we think that's the core issue. And it's not. It is not. It is a veil. It is almost a defense mechanism to see what you're going to say, how you're going to react. I've seen it so many times over my career. When you start to ask more open-ended questions and you start to ask a couple of different questions, I'll give you a great example. This is a very simplistic example. We had a guy at one of our stores. He was a maintenance guy. He didn't want to do, he didn't want to clean some of the women's bathrooms. And so I was in there visiting one day and I'm talking to him and he's like, and he's talking to everybody, I don't want to clean the women's bathroom. I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that, because, and I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, I'm just, my schedule, no, seriously, walk me through everything that's going on. Well, I don't want to be accused of somebody when they go into that bathroom, or I don't want any woman to accuse me of something. That's the core issue. Wow. It wasn't that he didn't want to do his job. The core issue was that he didn't want to be placed in a position where he felt that a woman in the bathroom may say something to him about it because of something that happened to him previously. It's a very, I know it's a very rudimentary example, but I'm just trying to get you to people to understand the context of understanding that the first thing that comes out of a lot of person's mouth isn't the core issue. You have to be able to be patient and to kind of peel back a little bit more of that, because then when you get to the core, now you can problem solve.
Yeah. And it's so true, because a lot of times the representative is the first punch, right? When they're defensive, right? They're just like, I'm gonna just jab you in the face. Yes. But it's really, if you are calm, because you're very intellectually to know, how am I gonna problem solve? Like if you go back to you, right? Yes. Even write that out. How am I gonna problem solve when things are not working in my favor, or my employee or my booth renter, whoever it is it's not complying. We're at friction. How do I handle it? Right. And that's being self-aware. But then you have to be, like you said, patient to understand what is the first jab is not it. There's an underlining issue. And if you don't know how to ask the right questions because you're in your emotions, see, a leader can't go to the place of emotions. They always have to think in a logical brain.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
go into
Yeah.
that mindset, which I always say is like a scarcity mindset, like, I want to protect myself. I want to protect my business. Whatever it is, that's a scarcity mindset, right? You're
Hmm.
going to this place of like, I got to protect what I have built instead of understanding this
Yes.
is another person that is a part of my establishment. How could I best serve her in this way? How could I lead
Mm.
her to him or her, lead
Yeah.
them into a better clarity? Because when we're operating in a sense of emotion, nothing is getting accomplished. And that's
It's
why we see this or hear the salon drama, right? Or we
oh.
hear the cattiness or anything like that. Women can work together, men and women can work together, and it
Hmm.
can be in synchrony. We will not always get along, but it's how you handle that conflict, right?
Oh. a
That is
hundred percent.
that's key, handling it. So you definitely touched upon so many areas that I think that people just don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to be the person that's just like, oh, this is how you're going to lead. No, let's talk about it gets hard sometimes to lead. So he just gave you another secret sauce, all right?
Yeah.
Which I
And
love.
yeah. The other thing is that they either lead out of emotion or out of position. Right?
Mm,
We just talked about the first level out of your position. Well, I'm the owner of the salon, and so doesn't matter what you say. I'm the owner
mm-hmm.
out of the salon, and we feel like we don't have to take the time to listen.
Yeah.
And you you already got the position. I talk to this all the time with leaders at certain levels where they feel like their communication has to be condescending or it has to be super duper authoritative. Like, dude, you already got the position. Like,
Yeah.
you're already there. So you don't have to force the position upon somebody. You already have it. And so your communication needs to be as such. I was walking the store with my senior vice president, and we walked two or three different stores in this market, and I was able to give the feedback to the stores. And we walked into this one last store. It was bad. It was just really bad. And I was like, oh dang, I don't know if I want to give this visit notes. And he asked me, he's like, Steve, so what do you think? I was like, well, what do you think? And I already knew it was horrible. And he was like, yeah, it's not that great. I was like, okay. So you're gonna get these notes, right? He's like, yeah, I got this. I got it. I got it. Senior vice president. Senior vice president. This is 2, 3 levels up. Really great. Samir Shaw. I'll mention his name. Outstanding dude. And we're walking, and we get to the end of the visit, and I'm with another peer from another market, and he was like, dude, ooh, Samir's gonna crush him. He's gonna crush him. This story's horrible. Da da da. I was like, I don't know. So Samir, he goes up and he says to the team, he says, you know what? Your brand's off today. That's all he said. That's all he said. He
Wow.
said, your brand's off today. But that's coming from a senior vice president of the company. This is
Mm,
at Target. Well, I was at Target.
mm,
Senior vice president of the company. And now, if it was coming from me at my level, the details and the level of the details, would have been different because of my position.
mm-hmm.
But because of his position, he realized that I don't need to go. I don't need to get into the muck and the mire with these guys. That little statement and that little situation there just taught me so much more about communication and understanding that the position. You already got the position.
Mm-hmm.
How do you communicate from that position, that level of
Yeah.
position, and not lead and not communicate down
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you feel like I got to give all these details? No, you already got the position. Communicate differently from where you are at your level.
Which is so key, right? So key. Because I think some people like, they always have to have a chip on the shoulder or remind someone, this is my
Oh,
establishment. This is
oh,
mine. This is how I do things. But you wouldn't be where you are, which we're seeing in today's society, that so
yeah,
many of people are quitting their jobs or they're pivoting into different areas. I know in our industry, we have so many that are not working in traditional salons. Everybody's working for
correct,
themselves now. And
correct.
so they have the salon suites, which are great. And I've actually worked in one, so I'm not against it. But what I do see is now the industry is changing and we got a bunch of followers that want to be leaders because they can't
Mm,
lead themselves,
mm,
right?
mm,
So the industry is going through this hub and this change where it's like it could be positive, right? But if they haven't been stewarded because they've had bad leadership,
correct.
then they all want to go on their own. They don't want to assist anybody because they don't want to work for anybody because they have this independent mind, which I'm all for. But you do have to get led by someone. And if you know that you're in a bad salon that is not leading you correctly, then move on to
Yes,
another one so that you
yes,
could be groomed and stewarded
yes.
well. The only reason why I'm successful or know any of the stuff, I worked under great leadership.
That's
And
critical.
even when they got it wrong, they were honest enough to come back and say, with humility, I got that wrong, Angelica. Let me show you
Yeah.
what I meant, or whatever the case may be, or let me show
That's
you a
so
better way.
powerful. That's
And
so powerful.
I'm still friends with them today, and I haven't worked for them in years. I've only had 3 bosses in my life. One of the bosses that he was a little different. He was definitely different. But
Yeah.
he would actually say, "You have the power to fire yourself today. Is today a good day for you?
Mm,
You
mm.
should be able to." And I'm like, I have a
Hold up.
full book.
Rewind. Say that again. You got the power.
You
Somebody needs to hear that.
have you have the power to fire yourself today. And I remember him saying that to me because I was going through a lot, and
Mm,
I couldn't leave it at the door. My grandmother always had this saying, if you can't, don't bring all your stuff to me. Like, don't bring your mess to me. If you're coming, let them get identified with Angelica. At the time, my name was Taylor, Angelica Taylor. Make sure
yeah.
that they know that person, right? Leave your stuff at the door. That doesn't have anything to do with
Mm,
them.
mm.
But the problem that I'm seeing is so many people carry so much weight. And especially during this time, we're carrying a lot of weight. But
Correct.
if you know that particular day, you're not going to bring your A game, your excellence, your 100%, you got the power to fire yourself. Now, here's the thing. How do you fire yourself? Do you do it like,
Mm,
I'm just not showing up, I'm tired, I'm not doing this, right? Or do you going to actually send out an email and say, today, whatever the reason is, communicate, clear communication, because you are a leader. A leader will show themselves even in a humility, vulnerable state.
yes.
They're not looking
Yes.
for perfection, right?
Mm-mm.
That's not what they're after. They're going to say, today is not a good day. People can stand behind that and say, hey, are you okay? Like, is
Yeah.
everything okay? And they will give you that. And so since he gave us that power to do that, I thought, like, and there was so much other things that he had taught and that I didn't like. But now I understood because I had to develop, right? I wasn't at that place where I was just like, fire myself. I need my coin. I want my money, right? Get my coin today.
Yeah.
But it
My
was
bag.
like,
Who's taking my bag,
yeah,
man?
who's
No,
taking my
man.
bag? I got bills and responsibility. But what it did was it showed me that it's okay to have an off day, but what do you do when you come back from that? So that just gave me the freedom to just
Yeah.
say, I'm not going to have it right all the time. Now, I'm not saying don't have it right for 30 days straight now, okay? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. What I am saying is it's okay to show that humility side. So let's move on to our
Yeah.
last step.
The last one, man, and it's you, and you just kind of touched upon it about the person that has meant so much to you is that personhood level. They call it the pinnacle level.
Mm.
It is. I've lived in Atlanta for 12 years. I think you and I talked about this,
Shout
and
out to Atlanta.
shout out to Atlanta, and I got to see a lot of really great speakers, and one of the gentlemen that I actually had a pleasure of seeing speak was Colin Powell,
Mm.
and
Oh, wow.
to see Colin Powell speak, you know, have you ever seen somebody or people? Have you ever seen whoever's in the audience? Have you ever seen somebody like my Pastor D when I was in Atlanta too, Victory World Church, right? I would see him on stage, and you just see that person, and they're actually operating in what they're supposed to be doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just there. It's like, and you're just like this dude, like this is what they're supposed to be doing, and you can just
Mm-hmm.
see it, right? That is really the statesman or stateswoman or personhood leadership level that people want to achieve, and that just takes time. And so when I saw Colin Powell, I immediately was like, this dude, I would follow. I don't even know him, and I would follow him anywhere because it's out of the persona of who he is. It's
Mm.
out of the outcropping of years and of cultivating, being in the crucibles of life and making hard decisions and being able to say, like the other person said to you, hey, I was wrong about this.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and not tooting your horn when you're right?
Yeah.
But understanding that, you know what, I am who I am out of everything that I've gone through, and people will follow you just based off of that, not because
Mm.
of the results from the production level that you're going to get, not just because you're going to develop great talent and export talent because you're already doing that because it's part of who you are, but it's just out of who the essence, the ethos of who you are as a person, and
Mm.
you just end up gravitating to that person. That takes time.
Yeah.
Like you were just talking about some your I guess you was your mentor that now she has a salon for 30 years, and now she just passed away. Now her salon is still doing great because of the
Mm-hmm.
legacy of what she's
Yeah.
established. It's the same thing with you as a leader. That personhood or pinnacle style of leadership, man, people will follow you just based off of who you are, not what you can do for them, not
Mm.
what you can do for them, and not what you did for them, but they base it and they follow you based off of who you are, not your position either. Stop it. Position doesn't mean personhood. It's not.
Mm,
It's not.
yeah.
It's completely two different ends of the spectrum. Two different ends of the spectrum.
Wow. I love it because he's talking about someone's pause or someone's purpose, walking that
Mm,
out. So this might
mm,
be at your place in your life where you're like, my salon was something I envisioned, because God will give you a vision. And in order to actually walk that out, now you're getting to the place where you're living out your vision, which
mm,
might be your salon. And if you're
mm-hmm,
living out that purpose, you want to do it right. Leadership
mm.
is not an option. It is necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is
Yes.
necessary. So if you want to thrive or win in your business in any sort of shape or fashion, it starts with you, but it's
Mm,
not an option. And that's why I thought it was so important for us to discuss that, because a couple of weeks ago, I actually did a live about the areas that you have to audit. And one of it is
mm,
your
mm.
mindset, right? So let's
Oh
start
yeah.
with your
Oh
mindset
yeah.
and different things like that. But one of the reasons why I even had you on was because I can't tell you to audit those areas, but you don't even know what you're auditing, right?
Yeah.
And leadership, auditing yourself, right? Your
Mm,
relationship with yourself, relationship to understand, how could I do this year better, right?
yeah.
It starts with you. And walking out your purpose. Like now, truly, I feel like I'm totally in my purpose. It is not about me. It is not about anything that Angelica wants to do. That's a fruit. I will be successful. And I can say that unapologetically. I will be successful in anything that I do, because number one, I know my promise on my life, but I also know the vision that I carry, right?
Yeah.
When I know that, and that's for anybody, salon owners, beauty professionals, I don't care if you're in leadership, retail, if you are in the
Yeah.
Marine Corps, I'm shouting out everybody that I know. I know
Air Force.
Samara,
Air Force.
Air Force. He's giving a shout out right there. My husband's in the crowd too. He's a Marine, by the way. Oh, we have Casey here. Hi, Casey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to read some comments too,
Yeah.
and then
Go
we'll
for
get
it.
back to it. So we got Casey. Casey said the value that a person brings to the table encourages and uplifts others. And you are so right.
Mm,
So right.
mm,
Dream World Media Group says it's not about the competition. It's about becoming a leader in your own right. And boy, is he not telling us?
mm,
Yes, we
mm.
wanted to come in our own light, because a lot of it is not about, like we've been saying this whole entire time, it's about others. Like you
Yeah.
being a good leader is about others, right? And when others and in the beginning of the show, I talked about legacy. You will
Yeah.
leave a
Yeah.
legacy.
Yeah.
So what do you want your legacy to be, right? What do you want? I always say you have a birth date and you
Yeah.
have an end date. You have no idea where that end date is coming. But that dash, everybody has it on their obituary, a dash. What are
That's
you
right.
doing with that dash,
That's right.
right?
We tell everybody, we say that, everybody's on a journey.
Mm,
You are. Doesn't matter. Like to your point right at the beginning, that dash is the journey, if you will. And we say, but for you to be successful, you have to be an active participant in your journey. You
yes.
can't allow your journey to just exist or to just happen. They
Mm,
say, what do they say? You actually have to kind of make up your own mind, or else someone else will kind of make it up for you or tell you
yeah.
what to do. And you have to be active. And part of being active is understanding self-awareness, your emotional intelligence, how you're going to react in a certain situation, and then allow that foundation or those fundamental behaviors to guide and shape everything else that you do, and you can build
Mm,
upon that.
yeah.
That is the hard work, the upfront work. It's just like with a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
The upfront work for a business is the same thing as upfront work with your leadership and creating your value system.
Absolutely.
Once you can do that and have that foundation set, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but now you have something to fall back on, and that you
Mm-hmm.
can actually put decisions. You can filter decisions up against, instead of you just kind of haphazardly going. And that's what we're talking about: being an active participant in your journey. Is having a
Yes.
value system and being able to filter decisions through your value system to move you forward.
Well, guys, I hope you got all of them gems that he dropped. He dropped some bombs. He gave us from heart. And I think a lot of times when we hear other leaders speak, or we hear people in business, now he's not a beauty professional, but he's bringing his expertise of helping Fortune 500 companies literally execute their vision, right? So this is not some low level. This is some high level stuff, okay? I'm just saying it, okay? So I want you just to really, if you haven't had a chance to watch its entirety, share it with someone. Share it with someone
Yeah.
that can hear the message, right? Because how do we all win is by sharing, right? We can't be selfish. So share this message with someone, whether you're on YouTube or my Facebook, share it with someone. Get them acquainted with Steve because he has so much that he has to offer, even besides being on the Chairs Blueprint. So tell the people where we can find you, how we can connect with you and vibe with you out.
Yeah, absolutely. So worthyretailyou.com/now, right? That is the one-stop shop. We are on all social media, of course, as well, but if you want to get to know us a little bit more, just go to worthyretailyou.com/now, and that will give you our YouTube channel. That'll give you all of our social media, everything. And if you want to have a conversation about something, please, you have an opportunity to connect there as well.
Awesome. Well, it's such a pleasure having you on our show. Just wait backstage and we'll be
Absolutely.
chatting after.
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alrighty, guys, that is brings us to the end of our show. It's been a phenomenal time talking about leadership and leading your salon. And I know if you're not a beauty professional and you're in the audience, number one, I just want to thank you for being here because your presence is definitely value. So, Casey, I want to thank you. Michelle, I want to thank you. JP, Nathaniel, Dream World Media Group, just having you, Belinda, Basan, having you guys here and present. And if you have anything that stuck out to you, put it in the comments because that's how we are been. I can come back, Steve can come back and answer your questions and just engage a little bit more with you. So it's been an honor and a privilege having you guys all here, and I will see you next week. Okay, so we have some other special guests coming on next week. You do not want to miss it. We are here every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.
I can't hear you.